What's America's biggest export? Jobs. It's jobs. Yeah, I said it. And yeah, we're going there. The United States gives away hundreds of thousands of jobs and billions in revenue to outsourcing every single year. In 2023, global spending on outsourcing hit $731 billion, dollars, and that was up $31 billion dollars from the year before. Oh, yeah, we're going to get into numbers too in just a little bit. This isn't just a minor shift. IT, finance, even AI development are being gutted while corporations rake in profits and turn a blind eye to the fallout. They're shipping jobs off to the lowest bidder where they don't have to pay a living wage, they can bypass taxes, and they can skip out on paying benefits. Why pay fairly when they can pay barely? This isn't about innovation, it's about cutting corners. They're trading stability for quick cash, leaving behind broken economies, shattered livelihoods, and a workforce hustling to survive in an economy that just doesn't care anymore. I'll be focusing mostly on the United States because that's where I live, but let's be real, this is a global issue. It's everywhere. This is my take on what's happening based upon the facts that are out there and my real life experiences. I know in the world of YouTube, this is a really long video, and that's basically a death sentence, but I had to go all in. I've got chapters in the description, so if you want to skip around to what interests you, please feel free to do that. In case you don't know me, my name is Sheila Hammond, and I've spent over 30 years in tech navigating the chaos of outsourcing, corporate nonsense, and all the empty promises that come with it. I've seen it from the inside, right up until I was laid off and replaced, just like so many of you. I've been in the meetings, I've seen the decisions, and watched my job disappear overseas multiple times. So yeah, I've lived it, and I'm here to talk about it. Outsourcing has infiltrated our healthcare, infrastructure, and even our personal data like some kind of a cancer. Our future is being handed to the lowest bidder with zero oversight, jeopardizing national security and, let's be real, lives. We're not just losing jobs, we're losing control, and the consequences go way beyond paychecks. All right. So let's start with the basics, okay? Outsourcing means hiring an outside company to handle work that could be done in-house. It's not new. It's been around for decades, but it's only gotten bigger and more pervasive. Certain people love to blame immigrants for job losses, throwing around lines like they're coming over here and stealing our jobs. Let me be very clear. Immigrants aren't taking our jobs. They never have. That's just the convenient story that they tell you over here to keep you distracted from what's really going on over here. Companies will tell you that outsourcing is all about innovation and efficiency. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't buy it for a second. It's about ditching responsibility, plain and simple. It is said that outsourcing is about three things, right? Cost savings, access to talent, and scalability. First up, cost savings. Why pay an American worker $25 an hour when you can pay $2 an hour overseas and give it a fancy name like global efficiency? This is like corporate mathing, where adding up pennies makes you a billionaire and subtracting basic decency makes you a success story. Plus, you don't have to pay benefits, taxes, healthcare. It's a win-win for them, but a lose-lose for us. Then there's access to talent. Companies love to claim that they're tapping into top global talent. But let's be real. If that were true, why do they keep hiring internal teams to fix the mess? If outsourcing was really bringing in the best, we wouldn't be drowning in missed deadlines, communication breakdowns, and half-baked solutions. Now, I've worked with offshore developers a lot in my career, and it has never gone smoothly. Never. I have never had one experience where working with offshore was a good experience. Now, I would have to start work at 5 a.m. to accommodate the huge time difference, which was a freaking nightmare in itself. Critical bugs would sit for hours because your team isn't online when you need them. Questions go unanswered, and the communication gaps were real, frustrating, and costly. What I thought was a simple request would take multiple meetings just to clarify. I swear, half the time it felt like I was like explaining things to a magic 8-ball and then just shaking it to see if they were going to get it. And it always said, outlook not so good. This so-called top talent often lacks the context, experience, or commitment to get things right the first time. And by the time the mistakes pile up, the savings that they brag about are long gone. The truth? Companies aren't hiring the best, they're hiring the cheapest, and it's coming at a cost that we can't afford. Finally, there's scalability. The third thing that corporations love to say about outsourced talent. The dream scenario where businesses can expand or contract at will. No pesky employees, no commitments. They get to hire when they want, fire when they want, and leave all the responsibility behind. Sounds great, right? Until you realize it's creating a workforce with zero stability, zero accountability, and zero future. Outsourcing spans across nearly every industry and job type imaginable. While engineering and software development often dominate the conversation, they're just the tip of the iceberg. Accounting and bookkeeping are majorly outsourced, with companies sending tasks like payroll processing, tax preparation, and financial reporting to countries where labor is cheaper. Medical coding and billing are also another massive area, with hospitals and clinics outsourcing these administrative functions to specialized firms overseas. Even legal work, such as contract review and legal research, is increasingly being outsourced to save costs. Customer service and technical support have long been associated with outsourcing, but creative work is also on the rise. Graphic design, content writing, and even marketing campaigns are now being handled by freelancers and agencies in other countries. Additionally, industries like human resources are sending recruitment, employee training, and benefits management to external providers. Whether it's IT support, supply chain management, or even highly specialized roles like architecture and R&D, outsourcing has infiltrated nearly every aspect of our global economy. Outsourcing is sold as a way to save costs, access global talent, and scale quickly, but in reality, how often does it actually live up to the hype? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's break down the reality behind these buzzwords. Here's the thing. Outsourcing isn't just taking jobs from younger workers. It's hitting those of us in our 50s the hardest. When you've spent decades building up skills and experience, it stings even more to watch those opportunities vanish. And let's face it, companies aren't rushing to hire workers who are seen as too expensive. They want to cut costs. It's hard enough to stay relevant in your 50s against younger talent, but when you're forced to compete against people making a fraction of your salary, well, damn. Can you see the problem? It's so broken. But what happens when outsourcing isn't just about cutting costs anymore? When it's not just jobs on the line, but entire industries and even national security? Outsourcing didn't happen overnight. It's part of a much bigger trend called globalization. For decades, companies have been expanding operations across borders, cutting costs and increasing their profits, all while leaving workers with nothing. It started with manufacturing. In the 80s and 90s, we saw entire industries, textiles, electronics, auto parts, they were all shipped over to places like China and Mexico because it was cheaper to make things there. Look at Detroit. Detroit was once the backbone of the American auto industry, with union jobs providing stability for entire families. But when companies like Ford and GM realized that they could build cars cheaper by outsourcing it to places like Mexico and China, the jobs disappeared almost overnight. Plants shut down, local businesses crumbled, and what was once a booming city became the ultimate cautionary tale. And here's the brutal truth. Detroit never recovered, and they ended up filing bankruptcy in 2013. History is repeating itself, this time in tech, and the fallout will hit faster and harder than ever before. There won't be a slow decline over decades. This shift is happening right now. This is not some distant threat. And once these jobs are gone, they're gone. But globalization isn't just about losing jobs. It's about outsourcing accountability. Companies set up operations in countries with weaker labor laws, lower wages, and fewer environmental regulations, all while raking in the profits. And now with AI and automation in the mix, even outsourced jobs aren't safe. Instead of human workers overseas, corporations are investing in AI solutions to replace them entirely. AI is already disrupting customer service, finance, and even creative industries. Imagine what happens when it moves further up the chain. If you think that outsourcing was bad, wait until AI takes the lead. The jobs that once went overseas might not exist at all in a few years. Globalization is shifting again, this time toward replacing human workers altogether. And your job? Gone. Poof. Along with that stability that once kept you and your family and your community thriving. Corporations aren't just sending jobs overseas, they're systematically stripping away opportunities, stability, and growth from our country. They frame it as global innovation or cost cutting, but what it really boils down to is maximizing profits at any cost. It is straight up frickin' greed. Where's the outrage? Why isn't anyone calling out these companies for draining their own economies, abandoning their own workers, and pocketing the profits? And more importantly, why are we still letting them get away with it? Let's be real. People are pissed about outsourcing, but no one wants to talk about it because it gets twisted into a race issue. And that's exactly what corporations want. Because if we're too busy arguing about who's taking the jobs, we're not holding them accountable for giving them away. This is not about blaming workers overseas. They're just trying to make a living just like the rest of us. That's like yelling at the waiter because your blind date didn't show up. The real issue that deserves your blame are all those executives who are pocketing millions. And whether we like it or not, we the consumers play a part in this too. We let some of this slide because we love cheap things, right? We love cheap prices. But cheap comes at a cost. It costs jobs, it costs quality, and it costs the future of our communities. It really is about boardroom decisions to prioritize profits over people time and time again. And the narrative that immigrants are the problem is nothing but a distraction, a convenient scapegoat so no one looks too closely at the real problem. And just when you think it's all about cutting costs and crossing borders, there's an even bigger twist because the real game isn't happening overseas. Guess what's happening right here under our noses? They've mastered gaming the system here at home too. While we're distracted by the they're taking our jobs narrative, surprise, surprise, corporations aren't just outsourcing jobs, they're gaming immigration policies as well. Take the H-1B visa, for example. This was once a tool for bringing in actual specialized talent, but now it's used as a pipeline for cheap labor, undercutting wages, and displacing workers. Infosys is a major Indian outsourcing company. They faced a lawsuit for using the H-1B visa program to bring in cheaper labor while displacing American workers in tech. This loophole allowed them to exploit workers both domestically and internationally, creating a system that benefits corporations while leaving American employees completely discarded. Now, they ended up paying a $34 million fine to settle their allegations of fraud and abusing the immigration process. We'll talk more about H-1B visas in just a little bit. And while corporations keep pointing fingers and dodging accountability, the numbers don't lie. What's the damage? I think that it's going to be more than you think. Now, before we get into these obscene numbers, I want to make sure that you truly appreciate the difference between a million and the billion. Now, I didn't really understand it before. I mean, I knew that, a billion is more than a million, but it's like more. I watched a video a long time ago that showed the difference between a million and a billion using rice. I've linked to it in the description, but here are some screenshots of the video. He shows that 1 grain of rice here equals $100,000. 10 grains of rice would equal $1 million. Then there's the image of $1 billion with each grain of rice representing $100,000. Watch the video. It really will blow your mind. Now keep this visual in your noggin as we dig into the numbers a little bit, okay? Now the outsourcing industry is projected to hit $778 billion by 2028. And the business process outsourcing, BPO market, which is stuff like HR, payroll, and customer service, that's expected to surpass $400 billion by 2027. Now, that's just not some number on a financial report. That's billions of dollars being ripped from our economy with jobs handed to the lowest bidder overseas. And it's only accelerating. As I said earlier, in 2023, global spending on outsourcing hit $731 billion, which is up $31 billion from the year before. IT, customer service, HR, these are all industries that once provided stable careers, and they're now just a casualty of corporate cost-cutting strategies. Now, if we look at global IT outsourcing, that's projected to hit $652 billion in 2025 and surge to $851 billion by 2030. While the U.S. alone is expected to generate $214 billion by 2025 and grow at about 8% annually. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? That's a lot of rice leaving us, my friends. That's a lot of rice. Companies are doubling down on offshoring strategies despite the well-documented failures, communication breakdowns, and customer frustrations. But these numbers, they don't even scratch the surface. What they don't show you is the ripple effect. How one outsourced job doesn't just hurt one worker, it hurts their family, their local businesses, their entire community. Communication styles differ across regions. What might seem like a simple question in the US could take days to resolve overseas because of indirect communication styles, time zone differences, and the reluctance to challenge authority. From what I've seen, companies jump into outsourcing thinking it's a quick fix, but they underestimate the sheer amount of rework and miscommunication that comes with it. I remember projects where we had to re-explain the same thing over and over and over because cultural differences meant they weren't comfortable pushing back or asking for clarity. It wasn't just frustrating, it cost time and money. And it's not just about jobs going overseas anymore. It's happening right here through programs like the H-1B visa. The H-1B visa program was supposed to be a solution, right? Bringing in highly skilled talents for roles companies claim that they couldn't fill locally. Now, it was meant to supplement the workforce, not replace it. Industries like tech, healthcare, and engineering were supposed to benefit from specialized workers where talent shortages actually existed. The idea? If there weren't enough qualified workers in the US, businesses could temporarily bring in experts from other countries to keep things moving. But instead of using it as intended, corporations have turned it into a cost-cutting loophole. They're not bringing in the best and the brightest, they're bringing in the cheapest. The H-1B visa program puts the visa holders themselves in a precarious position. Their entire legal status in the United States is tied to their employer, meaning if they lose their job, they have a limited time to find other employment or they're forced to leave the country. What was meant to be a temporary fix for skill shortages has turned into a permanent tool for corporations to dodge fair wages and keep both domestic and foreign workers in a constant state of uncertainty. And the revolving door of policies under our administrations, it only adds to the chaos, making it easier for corporations to escape accountability. The problem isn't the workers, it's how companies have hijacked the system. They've gamed it, abused it, and turned it into yet another way to drive down wages while selling us the same tired story about talent shortages. Tech is crippled. Companies are offloading IT software development and cybersecurity roles faster than ever under the guise of saving money. But what's the real cost? Longer response times, increased security risks, and buggy, rigid products that need endless work. Customer service is a freaking nightmare. Outsourcing might look great on a spreadsheet, but try getting a straight answer when your internet goes down. You get passed around from one scripted response to another with absolutely zero accountability. That's the trade-off corporations don't want to talk about. They've turned customer service into an endurance sport. How long can you survive on hold before you give up? Bah! Finance and healthcare is even scarier. Outsourcing these industries isn't just inconvenient, it's freaking risky. Sensitive financial and medical data is now being handled by third parties overseas where regulations and security measures aren't exactly airtight. And the worst part, these companies keep telling us they're improving efficiency. But you know the truth. This isn't about efficiency, it's about getting away with the cheapest option possible. And it's not just traditional roles that are being outsourced. Companies are now offloading AI development to the lowest bidder, and the consequences could be even more disastrous. Here's a dirty little secret that no one talks about. The outsourcing companies you're hiring, they're stacking multiple clients onto the same overworked employees. Your company thinks it's paying for a full 8-hour workday, but the truth? You're lucky if you're getting 2 hours of actual focused work. How does this happen? Simple. They sign one contract, then another contract, and then yet another until their workers are juggling more than a circus clown on a caffeine bender. They're taking on way more business than they can realistically handle, and because no one's paying attention, they get away with it every damn time. Both corporations and outsourcing companies are using the workers like pawns. They aren't interested in fair pay. They're interested in squeezing every penny from the deal. I've been on the receiving end of this, and it's painfully obvious when an offshore developer isn't dedicated to you or your projects. I'd get partial updates, missed deadlines, and vague excuses, constantly chasing down answers that should have been straightforward. The lack of urgency was maddening because for them, our project was just one of many. Trying to hold them accountable felt nearly impossible. And when things went wrong, which they often did, it wasn't just a simple fix. It was layers and layers of back and forth, time zone delays, and a whole lot of, oh, we'll get back to you. Let's be honest, when your team is an ocean away, it's easy for them to disappear into the background, leaving you to pick up the pieces. And here's the thing, this isn't about lazy workers. It's about a broken system. These employees aren't slacking off. They're surviving in economies where wages are rock bottom and job security is a myth. They're not gaming the system. They're trapped in it, just like the rest of us. And when things fall through the cracks, that's not on them. That's on the companies that are overloading them. And don't just take my word for it. You don't have to look far to see what happens when outsourcing goes wrong. Just ask Boeing. In their relentless push to cut costs, They outsourced 70% of the design and manufacturing for the 787 Dreamliner to suppliers across the globe. This was in the early 2000s. What was supposed to be a $5 billion project ended up costing over $20 billion due to constant delays, quality issues, and a tangled web of miscommunication between hundreds of suppliers. Components didn't fit together, parts were delayed, and critical systems failed safety tests. It took them over 3 years longer than planned to deliver the first aircraft. And it didn't stop there. Boeing's most infamous outsourcing disaster came with the 737 MAX, a plane grounded worldwide after 2 catastrophic crashes killed 346 people in 2018 and in 2019. In an effort to save money, Boeing outsourced critical software development to engineers in India who were paid as little as $9 an hour. These engineers were under immense pressure to meet aggressive deadlines, often working with limited oversight and incomplete documentation. The result? The software responsible for the aircraft's flight control system was riddled with design flaws that overrode pilot inputs and caused both crashes. Instead of keeping these essential safety systems in-house with experienced engineers who understood the aircraft's complexities, Boeing prioritized short-term cost savings over long-term safety. The fallout was absolutely devastating. Billions in lawsuits, regulatory scrutiny, and a permanent stain on their reputation that they're still struggling to fix. Passengers lost their lives, families were shattered, and it all circles back to one thing: outsourcing critical work to save a few dollars. This isn't just about one plane or one company, it's about an entire industry that's built on exploiting workers and pretending it's all about efficiency. This is the result of a system that's stacked in favor of corporate greed at the expense of people. The real game of outsourcing isn't just about saving a few bucks. Welcome to the future, where we are outsourcing innovation itself. The future is being built on artificial intelligence, right? Companies aren't just outsourcing customer support or IT anymore. They're handing over the reins of AI development to the lowest bidder. The problem is, AI isn't just another tool. It's the backbone of decision-making in everything from healthcare to national security. AI doesn't just wake up one day magically knowing how to diagnose diseases or approve loans or recommend your next purchase. It's not magic, as much as corporations would like to believe that it is. It's trained by humans. Every AI system that you interact with, from chatbots to facial recognition, it has been painstakingly fed data, corrected, and fine-tuned by real people behind the scenes. AI learns from the data it's given, and that data is labeled, categorized, and interpreted by humans. Humans with their own biases, experiences, and understanding of the world. Here's the problem. Most AI training work isn't being done by experienced engineers in high-tech labs. Oh no. It is outsourced to low-cost labor markets where workers are paid next to nothing to label millions of data points with little oversight or context. They're given vague guidelines and impossible deadlines, which leads to mistakes, inconsistencies, and built-in biases. And what happens when those biases get coded into AI? The consequences can have serious, long-lasting effects. Let's just say I wouldn't trust it to pick a restaurant, let alone pilot a spaceship. From hiring to healthcare, AI has repeatedly failed to deliver fair and accurate results because the people training it are often rushed, underpaid, and working with incomplete instructions. When AI systems used in finance, healthcare, and even national security are developed offshore, they become prime targets for exploitation, fraud, and systemic failure. Sensitive data can fall into the wrong hands, and faulty algorithms can put entire industries at risk. Intellectual property leaks and data breaches aren't just possibilities, they're inevitabilities. Now imagine the fallout if the AI responsible for our critical infrastructure is compromised. And let's not forget the long-term impact, okay? Outsourcing AI isn't just killing jobs today, it's making sure your kids can't get one tomorrow. If AI development roles are shipped overseas, why would the next generation of talent invest in these careers? We're already seeing a decline in entry-level positions, which means fewer opportunities for people to gain experience and build careers in AI. The result? This shift is creating a shrinking pool of skilled domestic talent while increasing our reliance on outsourced labor to manage the core of technological advancements. Here's the harsh truth. Like I said, AI is not magic. It is not self-sufficient. It needs continuous human input, oversight, and refinement. And the people training and maintaining these systems, data labelers, annotators, and QA testers, they're all being exploited. They work long hours under extreme pressure, making split-second decisions that shape how AI interprets the world, all while getting paid next to nothing. And when things go wrong, when an AI system discriminates or it makes critical errors or it mishandles sensitive data, who's going to be held accountable? The company that outsourced it or the third-party provider with zero skin in the game? It's definitely not the people who profit from the mess. This lack of accountability is what makes outsourcing AI so dangerous. This isn't just about saving money, it's about losing control of our future. Companies are playing a dangerous game by offshoring AI development to cut costs, and we're the ones paying the price, and we'll have to live with the consequences. From biased algorithms to security vulnerabilities, the risks aren't just inconvenient, they're life-altering. A misdiagnosed patient, a wrongful arrest, or a financial collapse caused by faulty outsourced AI could have devastating consequences. And guess who's kicking ass in AI while we're outsourcing to cut costs? China. China is. With AI models like DeepSeek, they're not just catching up, they're positioning themselves to dominate. This isn't just about chatbots or smart assistants, it's about creating an entire AI ecosystem that's fast, cost-efficient, and poised to revolutionize everything from cybersecurity to medical research. DeepSeek is going to kill models like ChatGPT with its ability to deliver faster, more accurate results at a fraction of the cost. Meanwhile, American companies are shipping off all of our AI work to the lowest bidder, acting like we can just buy back innovation whenever it's convenient. Spoiler alert, we can't. While we sleep on our own technological future, China's already building the infrastructure and innovation that we're too distracted to keep up with. China isn't outsourcing their AI development. They're investing in it. They're training their own talent, and they're ensuring that they're the ones setting the global standards. And once they take the lead, guess who's going to be playing catch up? It's us. We'll be playing it. This isn't fear-mongering, it's reality. We've already seen the consequences of relying on other countries for manufacturing, and now we're doing the same thing with AI, the very thing that's going to shape the next century. So, we've handed over our jobs, our industries, and now our future to the lowest bidder. But is it too late to take back control? We vote with our wallets. Every time we choose the cheapest option, we're telling companies that what they're doing is okay. So the question is, are we willing to pay a little bit more to keep jobs here? There are ways to hold these companies accountable. I'm no expert, but I know that we could have more transparent laws. Governments could offer tax breaks for companies that keep jobs local, and ethical outsourcing is possible if businesses actually cared enough to do it. In recent years, though, several companies have reshored operations to the U.S. to mitigate supply chain risks and to improve quality control. For instance, GE moved some of its appliance manufacturing back to Louisville, Kentucky, creating numerous jobs and enhancing production efficiency. Also, Caterpillar shifted production from Japan to Texas, citing better control over their quality and reduced transportation costs as key benefits. These examples illustrate how reshoring can serve as a strategic response to the challenges associated with outsourcing, offering companies greater control over their operations and supply chains. But here's the thing. This whole system, it's a vicious cycle, and we need to figure out how to break it. And honestly, I don't have the answer to that. All I know is that I'm unemployed. My position and the positions of so many people I know and the positions of so many people in this community have been outsourced. And I'm freaking pissed, and I don't know what to do with that. Look, outsourcing isn't some kind of conspiracy. It's a corporate strategy. It's not an accident. It's a business plan. But you know what? We've still got a choice. We've got the power to make corporations work for us, not the other way around. It's time to stop accepting the scraps that they're throwing our way and demand something better, because if we don't, we're just setting ourselves up to be outsourced into irrelevance. It's not just one person hurting. It's entire families. It's entire communities, all left scrambling to survive in an economy that doesn't give a damn anymore. It's about a system that's been designed to strip people of their worth, whether it's by underpaying them, replacing them, or flat out ignoring them. And the thing is, companies aren't just outsourcing labor, they're outsourcing responsibility, accountability, and integrity. They've built an entire economy on the idea that we'll just accept it and that we'll stay quiet, keep our heads down, and be grateful for whatever scraps they throw our way. But what happens if we stop accepting it? Support companies that keep jobs local, advocate for fair labor laws that protect American workers, and speak up about unethical outsourcing practices. You have the power to influence the marketplace. Your choices can drive change. Your wallet is your weapon. Use it. And when enough of us demand accountability from these corporations, we're going to start to see some real change. Because here's the thing, this cycle of greed and exploitation didn't happen overnight. It's been carefully crafted, one corporate decision at a time, and it's not going to change unless we start pushing back. They've spent years telling us that we're the problem. Maybe it's time we remind them whose fault it is, like I do here.